With Jessica's death, it became certain that the culprit was hiding somewhere nearby, and that they'd come for our lives if they had the chance. According to Genji-san, when tomorrow morning comes, the boat should arrive. The boat held a radio. We'd probably be able to contact the police directly with that. All of us gathered in the parlor and decided to wait quietly until tomorrow. I proposed that we should search throughout the mansion for clues about the culprit, but Aunt Rosa rejected that, saying that if we managed to corner the culprit or maybe provoke them, it might lead to a third murder. That was probably the right thing to do. If a bunch of amateurs like us investigated, there's no way we'd find anything. It would be the wisest to focus on protecting ourselves without doing anything unnecessary, and leave it to the police starting tomorrow. We'd been tense at the beginning, but other than Aunt Rosa, most of us had spent all morning watching TV and getting bored, so our sense of danger had faded considerably. When we thought about it, yes, 6 adults certainly had been killed together in the first murder, but that made it seem like some backhanded method like poison had been used. And for the second murder, we figured those two became sacrifices because they'd been unfortunately isolated from the rest of us. From this, it was possible to imagine that the culprit wasn't a large number of adults, and that they wouldn't be capable of killing this large group gathered in the parlor all at once. Right now in this parlor, there's George Aniki and me. Maria, Aunt Rosa, Genji-san, Goda-san, Shaman-san, and Kumasawa-san, and then Dr. Nanjo, for a total of 9 people. Furthermore, Aunt Rosa was even armed with a gun. Surely with this many people staying in this room, they wouldn't be able to touch us easily. That feeling of security, along with the passage of time, allowed us to recover from the shock of that morning bit by bit. Oh yeah, Rosa has the gun. By the way, lunchtime had just ended for us. However, it had been a canned food lunch, a far cry from the dinner last night that Goda-san had skillfully made for us. Canned food reference! Aunt Rosa also suspected that poison may have been used in the murder. So we probably couldn't deny the possibility that the culprit had snuck into the kitchen during all that confusion in the morning and mixed poison in with the ingredients there. Aunt Rosa gave orders to all of us saying that until the police came, we mustn't put anything into our mouths except safe things like canned food. As a cook, Goda-san must have felt very let down. Apparently eager to display his skill anyway, he said he'd at least wanted to grab some plates and arranged the canned food on them. At first, Aunt Rosa had been reluctant, examining each one of the plates that were brought, but she hadn't been able to find anything to complain about. And Goda's chef's picked canned food lunch combo was born. Goda-san said something about taste being savored not just with the tongue, but with the eyes as well. I see, it's the same canned food we ate for breakfast, but it feels like something completely different. Sure, whatever you guys say. Ooh, that way. Look, look. This is the wolves and sheep puzzle. Ugh. As I was sitting lazily on the sofa with no desire to watch TV, Maria came over, pulled a picture book out of her handbag, and held it out to me. What's that book? Wolves and sheep puzzle? Let's see. Wolves and sheep puzzle. It was a phrase that Aunt Rosa had said this morning when we'd gone to call on Jessica. At the time, I hadn't known what it meant, and right after that was the uproar when Jessica's corpse was found, so I'd forgotten about it completely. The book that Maria held out to me looked like a foreign picture book or something that had been translated. When I opened it, I realized it was a book stuffed with riddles. Ooh, so you have a few wolves and a few sheep, okay? The puzzle is how you take them to the other side using one boat. I've heard of games with rules like that. So this is a version with wolves and sheep? It was a very simple puzzle, passed on from long ago. Let's try posing a question. On the right bank, there are 2 wolves and 2 sheep. There's a boat that as many as 2 animals can ride on, and using it, you have to move all 4 of them to the opposite left bank. That's the puzzle. There are 2 rules. The first is regarding the boat. Even a single wolf or a single sheep can paddle it, but it can only hold 2 animals. The second rule is regarding the wolves. When they are greater than number than the sheep in any location, they attack the sheep and it's game over. For example, at the start of the game, let's say the 2 sheep get in the boat and go to the other side. Then one sheep gets off and the other goes back to the first bank. When it does, there are 2 wolves on the first bank, and a single sheep returns there. When that happens, the number of wolves is greater, so the sheep is attacked and it's game over. On either bank, or even the boat, there must never be more wolves than sheep. And you've got to shuttle them across under these conditions. By the way, the right answer is to move both wolves to the opposite bank in the first turn. Then one wolf comes back. On the second turn, you move 2 sheep to the opposite bank. Then one wolf comes back. Then on the third turn, you put that last wolf that was on the right bank on the boat and cross to the opposite bank. And congratulations, transport successful. I spoiled it. Partway, there may be the same number of wolves and sheep in the boat or on either side, but that isn't a problem. You only lose when the number of wolves is greater. This book uses wolves and sheep as an example, but lots of people probably know of this game using different characters. It looked like Maria wanted to test whether I too could solve the puzzles she knew how to solve, and she kept showing me different pages saying, solve this one, and this one's hard. So, what was happening when Aunt Rosa first mentioned this puzzle? Yeah, there's more variations of this, and there's more than just 2 and 2, and there's a lot of different ways to do this puzzle. That's right. When we decided to go get Jessica, we talked about how many men should go, and Aunt Rosa mentioned the wolves and sheep puzzle, saying we should all go together. Wait a sec. That could only mean one thing. Aunt Rosa was saying there was a wolf among us. So, was she thinking that we'd be safe if the number of wolves and sheep was in balance, but that the wolves would bare their fangs if the situation changed? At the time we found our parents' corpses, Aunt Rosa already suspected that the servants might be wolves. She'd sniffed out the possibility that, while she didn't know whether it was all of them or some of them, there were wolves hiding among them. That's no surprise. That murder scene was very elaborate. It's easy to imagine that there were multiple culprits. And because she'd reached that conclusion, when we went to Jessica's room and learned that Jessica had been killed after being alone with a servant, Kanan, it isn't hard to imagine why Aunt Rosa suspected the servants so persistently. You servants, Goda-san is going to the kitchen to clean the dishes. Just in case, would you please all go with him? My apologies, everyone. Let us go as a group. Shannon, Kumasawa, we are going. Yes, coming. Well then, George-san, excuse me for now. Yes, take care. Aunt Rosa, could I go as well? I'm sorry, but would you remain here, George-kun? There's something I want to talk to you about. Is that so? Sorry, Shannon. Anyway, take care. Don't be alone. Yes. Yeah, the second Twilight... Well, I don't know if it was the second Twilight, but the next 2 deaths were Jessica and Kanan. So, yeah, they're okay. I'm sorry, Dr. Nanjo. I wanted to consult you about something. Yes, what could that be? The servants put the dishes and empty cans on the serving cart and started to head out into the corridor. Behind them, Aunt Rosa was talking to Dr. Nanjo about something in a small voice. Understood. I will go. Yes, I'm counting on you. Dr. Nanjo closed the book he had been reading, rose from the sofa, and followed after the servants. Thank you for the posture check. Aunt Rosa stuck her head out into the hallway, and after seeing that they were completely out of sight, she closed the door and spoke. Listen up, everyone. With that, everyone here is in Ushiramiya. Yes, that's true. So you're saying that you've chased out all the wolves, Aunt Rosa? With that one sentence, Aunt Rosa's gaze grew sharp. Apparently, she had picked up on the sarcasm. She laughed lightly. Your mind sure works fast, Battler-kun. I like clever kids. It means there's less to explain. Ugh, Battler's smart? Can you solve this? Page 64 is hard. Ugh. Maria, go watch TV for a bit. Mama wants to talk with Battler-kun and George-kun. Ugh. Aunt Rosa, I heard about the puzzle from Battler-kun. I don't think it's wrong to be on our guards, but I also think there's such a thing as being too suspicious. Whether the real culprit is Beatrice or not, there is reason for us to suspect that the servants are in on it. In the first murder, where Nissan and the others were killed, they were treated very brutally, right? Did that look like something that could have been done alone? Maybe the mystery guest Beatrice-sama worked all night and did it all. And what about the master key in the door to Jessica's room? Isn't that proof that one of the servants was involved? Only the master key could have locked the door to Jessica's room, so we can only suppose that one of the servants did it. No. Wait. Spin the chessboard around. That's strange, Aunt Rosa. After killing Jessica, why would the culprit go to all the trouble of locking the door? The fact that it was locked made it inevitable that the owners of the master keys would be suspected. There was no reason for them to go to all the trouble of locking the door. That's right. It's just as Battler-kun says. There was no need for them to go to all the trouble of making themselves look suspicious. Damn, I didn't even think about that. But if it was one of the servants, it was one of the only people with a master key, why would they lock the door? Like, obviously I know who the culprit is, and like... but there's just all these little details that like makes certain people look more suspicious or less suspicious that I forget. I'm like, oh wait, that is like that is a wild thing to do. Yes, that's an interesting thought. Of course, I also thought that. If that's the case, then the person who locked it wanted to cast suspicion on the servants, and locked it without a master key. But that's impossible, right? That's right. If there existed some trick that could lock that door without a master key, that would make this a great disguise for casting doubt on the servants. If the culprit's goal was for us to isolate ourselves from the group so they could attack us one by one, this trick would also be effective at giving rise to paranoia. But there was no way to lock that door without using a master key. How can you be sure there's no way to lock that door without a master key? Isn't that a devil's proof like Rudolph Nissan was talking about earlier? Maybe it was locked by some method we can't think of. Even if we can't think of a way, we can't deny the possibility of some unknown trick being used. That's true too, I guess. So is that it? No smoke without fire again? I don't know the practical details of the trick, but I have a general idea. My apologies, but if we make the assumption that Kanon-kun was the culprit, it can be explained extremely easily. Even as to why there was no corpse. Huh? But Kanon-kun didn't have a master key, right? Putting aside the other servants, at least Kanon-kun shouldn't have been able to lock the door. Didn't Beidou say that the door couldn't be locked without the master key in red? Yeah, she said it had to be one of the 5 master keys or Jessica's key. But, you know, this Battler and Rosa don't know that. Unfortunately. I see. So that's why you told us to search in the closet and everywhere right after we entered Jessica's room. Oh, Rosa, your mind works faster than I would have guessed from how you normally act. The brain speed of a little sister is always the big sister's -1. Right now, there's no one I need to worry about offending, which is certainly a relief. It is so fascinating to see how, like, Natsui acts when all the other adults are dead, and how Rosa acts when all the other adults are dead. It's so fucking interesting. George Aniki realized she was referring to Aunt Ava, and seemed a little uncertain about how he should take that sarcasm. I'm sorry. Could you explain it so even I can understand? Kanon-kun's master key was in Jessica-chan's pocket, closed up inside a closed room. After the door was locked, it should have been impossible to put it in her pocket from outside the room no matter what trick he used. That's not it, Aniki. If it was done the way Aunt Rose is thinking of, this trick could have only been used by Kanon-kun. Yeah, a lot of people were saying it was on the floor. It was not on the floor. It was on the side table. Plus, the door could still be locked without using a key, while the master key was in Jessica's pocket. And it would also result in his corpse disappearing. How? How could he lock the door without a key? It's simple. George-kun, when you return home, you lock the door, right? You twist the knob, click, and you're done, right? Huh? Could it be... No, but... Kanon-kun was nowhere to be found. It looks like you've got it, Aniki. That's what Aunt Rosa was searching the room for. She was searching for Kanon-kun, who had locked the door from the inside and stuck the key in Jessica's pocket, before hiding somewhere, waiting for us to walk right past him. It was the simplest kind of closed room trick. It meant him hiding inside the closed room after the murder was committed. Then all he had to do was get out after those who discovered the body left, and the closed room murder would work perfectly. When we searched that room, we didn't find anything. But for all we know, that room might have had a hidden passage that only the servants know about. We don't know where such a thing might have been hidden, but if we assume that there was such a passage, we can conclude that it was impossible for everyone but him. Well, about that line of reasoning, I thought of that too at the very beginning. It's the kind of reasoning I hate most, so I wanted to destroy it right at the start. Kanon was killed in this room, right? You apparently suspected that Kanon was the culprit, so you made me repeat this to destroy that possibility right off the bat. Yes, I understand. So this is what I thought next. I made a theory where there were actually 3 people in that room. Jessica and Kanon-kun were victims, and the culprit, the guest Beatrice, was also there with them. You're not eating your yogurt for Umineko, oh my god. You wanted to make it the human me who committed the crime without using magic. I see. A bizarre theory that suits you perfectly. I guessed that you killed those 2, then locked the door from the inside. And that you carried Kanon-kun's corpse away using some secret method that normal people wouldn't notice. In other words, you used a secret door to escape. But you told me it in red. You said no kind of hidden door existed in that room. Indeed, there can exist no secret passages that you all are not aware of. Was it Knox who said it, or was it Van Dyne? It seems that in mystery novels there must never be hidden passages. I simply followed that etiquette. So even without having to thoroughly search the room, a famous detective could conclude that no secret passages exist. Humans playing detective have it so easy. Knox mentioned epic win. Damn you, talking so big. Thanks. Thanks to the mighty witch being so diplomatic, I get to conclude that the room has no hidden doors without searching the whole thing. Indeed. There are no hidden doors in this room. There is no way to get in or out other than the door and the windows. Which means that the theory Aunt Rose is so confident in is wrong. Also, annoyingly, it's impossible to disprove her theory. If you, the witch, say, there are no hidden doors in red, then it's settled. However, no matter how much a human like me tries to argue against her, Aunt Rosa probably won't accept it. Humans can't prove there's no hidden door. It's a devil's proof. Damn. Sure is convenient being a witch. No way! To call Kanan-kun the culprit because of a hidden door we don't even know exists, I can't accept that. If you can't accept it, then find me a different theory that's more convincing. There is none. I've been thinking this whole time. There's no other option. George-kun, you and Shanan-chan are close, right? I imagine that's why you find it so hard to accept that all the servants are culprits. Even I don't want to believe that Shanan-chan is in league with the culprit. But whether they're all in it together or not, there's definitely a culprit, or maybe an accomplice in that group. That point alone is something you absolutely need to understand. If you guessed that there were wolves besides Kanan-kun, does that mean the uproar you caused by accusing Kanan-kun in Jessica's room was to gauge the reactions of the other servants? Yes, that's right. And as a result, I began to suspect them even more. There certainly is a wolf among the servants. Certainly. And just like in the wolf and sheep puzzle, while they may be docile most of the time, they'll surely attack if they get the chance. Okay, so we'll acknowledge the elephant in the room. Isn't acknowledging truths in red acknowledging witches? I mean, this is the thing. Meta Battler, in some way, is talking to someone who claims to be a witch, Beatrice. And he died, and he, you know? But acknowledging whether Beatrice exists in the real world as a witch is what Battler is arguing. You know? This is why it seems super bonkers, because it's like, aren't you talking to a witch right now, Battler? And it's like, well, yes, but does that witch actually exist, you know? Much to think about. Jessica-chan was a lone sheep on the boat. In Maria's version of the puzzle, they may not attack when there's an equal number of wolves and sheep, but our puzzle is different. Depending on the situation and the number of people, they'll attack even if there is a balance. Just like when Jessica-chan was killed. Then there's something that makes me mad. If that's true, then when you made Shaman go to the kitchen, you put her in a dangerous situation, didn't you? We should go to the kitchen right now, too. No matter who may or may not be a wolf. If staying together means we remain in balance, I think we should keep it that way. Shaman-chan went to see Father along with Genji-san. At that time, she was supposedly isolated, but she wasn't killed. Was it because Genji-san wasn't a wolf either? Wrong. It's because they were both wolves. Shannon isn't the kind of person who would take part in a crime. I can't let a comment like that slide, not even from you, Aunt Rosa. I demand that you take back what you just said. George is such this type of guy. It's so true, George. I hate saying this in front of Aniki, but the way you're arguing feels just like something Aunt Ava might say. That seems like a dangerous thing to say in front of both of them, honestly. It's like you're automatically assuming that you're right unless we can counter your argument. Looks like you can't fight against your own blood after all, Aunt Rosa. Even I can't think of myself as very praiseworthy right now. But guess what? I'm a mother. I'd become even a demon to protect Maria's safety. I really wish I could shut myself away somewhere alone with her. But I also plan to act as a mother to you two. Right now, you're practically my children. Even if you aren't my own, I won't forsake you. No matter what. Well, thanks for that. I just wanted to warn you not to be careless, as your mother. Stay where I can see you at all times. I will protect you. And at the same time, you'll be observing us to make sure we aren't wolves. Yeah, thanks a lot for that. And you, Aunt Rosa, prove that you aren't a wolf yourself? Yes, I can. That's a quick answer. How? With this. This is my proof. Aunt Rosa lifted her gun and pointed the barrel at me. But it was only for an instant. She immediately lowered the gun, laughing impishly. But to me, the time I spent staring down the barrel of that gun felt like an eternity. How does that gun prove that you aren't the culprit, Aunt Rosa? Think about it. What if I were the culprit? Would I really give up the once-in-a-lifetime chance I got when the servants left? I could just shoot you, bang, and think of a fitting excuse later. Something like, Beatrice appeared outside the window and started shooting at us. I just need to leave 2 empty cartridges on the ground and say I fired back at her twice. Well, that's a crazily violent way to argue it, but it does make sense. There's something Kraus Nissan used to say all the time, long ago. Might is right. Maybe that really is true. I'm sorry, you two. I've somewhat lost my composure after all the crimes since this morning. You know how I normally am, so I must seem desperate and a bit short-tempered right now. But please understand, I want to protect you from a malicious culprit. I will become a demon to do that. That's all there is to it. I'm sorry for saying something that's angered you. Battler-kun, George-kun, let's make up. An unsatisfied expression rose to George Oniki's face. He probably couldn't forgive the damage done to Shannon's honor. Hey, Hectic. What about me? Several bits of circumstantial evidence hinted at the servants' participation. I didn't want to believe that one of them was the culprit, or possibly colluding with the culprit, but in our current situation, that was little more than wishful thinking. Whom should I believe? In the first place, who is the culprit? Are there accomplices? And if so, how many? It seems I've only been suspecting the people we know. I quickly forgot the 19th person, the guest, Beatrice, who arrived yesterday and boldly claimed to be the Golden Witch. In fact, I still haven't seen her face. I heard she greatly resembled the witch in that portrait, but since I haven't seen her directly, no matter how hard I try, it doesn't really feel to me like a 19th person is on this island. So I've been subconsciously hallucinating that the culprit's one of the 18. Damn it. Come out, Beatrice. If you're the bad guy, then act like the bad guy and show yourself, laughing in a high-pitched voice and mocking us. Just like a bad guy in one of those dramas who, even when they're exposed as the culprit, aggressively says, "Where's your proof?" Where's your proof? Shut up, no more talking. Incredible. It was just that. That's all she showed up to say. Oh my god. There were 5 humans in the kitchen, but it was very quiet, filled only with the sound of the rain. It was only accented by the sound of Shannon and Kumasawa washing the dishes. Goda was using the leftovers from breakfast and lunch as ingredients for a soup. Rosa had suspected that poison might have been added to the food, so they decided to eat canned goods, but it hadn't been too satisfying. But Goda thought she was being too cautious. So he was spontaneously creating a soup to be served only to those who wanted some. Shannon and Kumasawa were washing the dishes that the food had been arranged on. On the inside, they thought maybe Goda should wash them, since he'd been the one who wanted the food arranged on plates in the first place, but they left their complaints unsaid for the time being. Genji and Nanja were facing each other across a crude chess set that had many years of experience. The game had still only just begun, and because the opening game of these experienced players had been honed to perfection, it looked like a ceremony where they just moved specified pieces in a specified order. That's a nice aroma. You wouldn't get this from canned food. It was made only from sealed ingredients, so there won't be any poison mixed in. I am making enough for everybody, so please eat. Of course, I will also taste for poison. Please feel secure and eat. That really is a nice aroma. Goda-san, the food you cook really is delicious. Being able to create delicious food when you buy delicious ingredients is hardly special. My master taught me that a true cook needs to perfect their ability to make delicious food from whatever is on hand. That was a good master. Thanks to him, it looks like we'll all get to enjoy some truly delicious soup. They're just big chillin' in here. Although it is a shame that it was made from ingredients intended for all of the family members to eat. I'm sure Rosetta-san is tired after everything that happened this morning. It is only natural. Beato did say her power is soup. This is true. But thanks to that, we get to drink some soup made from delicious ingredients. That's true. 8 people may be dead, but you know what? You are going to get some soup. Rosa had fervently warned everyone that they didn't understand the danger that they were in, and that they must assume that poison was mixed in with the food. The mood at the time had led them to agree, but hunger wasn't something that could be swayed by a momentary emotion like that. Ironically, we've ended up with a soup that we normally wouldn't be able to savor. Possible, I would like to serve it to everyone in the parlor, but... Seeing that would violate Rosa-sama's instructions, you had best give up on that idea. It's enough that only those who want to eat it do so. Skillfully taking a breather when no one's looking is also an important skill for a servant, isn't it? When Kumasawa cackled, Shannon and Goda laughed too. It seemed that in the space where only their fellow servants were gathered, they could relax quite a bit. Shannon didn't like Goda's occasional dishonesty, but she knew that there was no falsehood in his childish smile when he cooked, nor in his desire for people to enjoy his food. So even though it was a little aggravating to be made to wash the dishes, she couldn't really hate him. It's so interesting the way Book 1 is like, man, fuck Goda. Goda's such a piece of shit. It's like presented from all angles. And then they're just kind of like, I don't know. Goda's like a person with good moments and bad moments and good things about him and bad things about him, you know? When they cry moment. However, they couldn't have dreamed that Rosa was calling them wolves in the parlor at exactly the same moment they were spending their time peacefully like this. At that time, several of the servants heard a sound like something being dragged, and then a thump. It seemed like the sound made by a servant outside the back door when they were carrying a mountain of trash bags on a rainy day. Maybe when a servant was returning from work wearing a raincoat. So at first, that sound didn't seem like anything out of the ordinary to any of them. But they soon realized, right now, everyone was either in the kitchen or in the parlor. So, who could possibly be at the back door? As the servants all looked at each other, they checked to make sure that each one of them knew what that sound meant. Who could it be? The servants knew the mansion's layout well. So they understood how incomprehensible it would be for someone from the parlor to actually go outside in this typhoon. Go all the way around and come up to this back door. And was it Kinzo? They couldn't imagine that Kinzo, who never left his study, would dash out into the middle of this typhoon and come back to the house and come to the back of a house where only low-class people ever entered or exited. But that wasn't our imagination, was it? Yeah, part of the reason I've been playing Umineko more aggressively, like more frequently, is because it's Halloween. Well, it's not Halloween, but you know what I mean. It's October. Oh. It's so hard not to just make the Hanyu noise when Shannon and Kumasawa drew close together, fearfully looking at the back door.
Who is it?
As Goda fearfully approached the back door, he called out. His eyes flashed towards the butcher's knife that sat in a nearby sink. He didn't pick it up yet, because there was still a possibility that this was a member of the family. However, that possibility was impossible. There was no response from across the door to Goda's initial question. Maybe his voice had been so quiet that it hadn't reached through all the wind and rain outside.
Genji-san.
Yes.
Stand back, Dr. Nanjo and the women. Who in the world could it be?
Genji took a knife with a classical design from a stationary box placed near the chess set. It was something to be used instead of a paper knife to open envelopes for statements of delivery and bills. But it was still a knife, so the blade on it could injure someone. Genji hid it in his sleeve with a well-practiced motion. Then he approached the back door himself, giving Goda a silent nod. Goda cautiously approached the back door and slowly started to open it. Playing chess in the background? Perfect.
Whoa!
The shadow of a person suddenly shuffled into sight, landed on its knees, and fell over. Goda fell backwards onto his backside and couldn't get up. That human shadow was soaked with rain, smeared with mud, and drenched with blood. Kanon-kun? Kanon-kun!
Kanon, are you alright? Dr. Nanjo!
It was Kanon. His breath was feeble, and the puddles of mud he left were quickly drenched bright red. When Nanjo held him and turned him face up, there was a deep, gruesome wound right in the center of his chest, as though he'd been stabbed there by a spear or something. Even now, deep red blood poured out from there.
This is horrible. What shall we do? Get a first aid kit? A first aid kit? Kanon-kun, place your hand against the wound. Please, push firmly.
Wait, we should... No, it still says what it says. There's no corpse, and yet he's dead. The witch said so in red, so he's definitely dead, even though there's no corpse. Alright, well...
Let's carry him to a bed in the servant room. Everyone, please, lend a hand. Come now, Kanon-san. Please, hang in there a little longer.
Hang in there. It'll be okay. So, don't take your hand from the wound.
At any rate, let us carry him to the servant room. Kumasawa, inform Rosa-sama that we have found Kanon. Wait, not... Rosa-sama?
Exact wording of the Red Truth was, Kanon died in this room.
Please wait. Kanon-san said, not Rosa-sama.
What do you mean, Kanon-kun?
There is no time for that. Let us quickly carry him to the servant room. Kumasawa, do not tell Rosa-sama yet. We will do it after we hear the situation from Kanon.
Yes. He had told them not to tell Rosa right after appearing in this state. This could only mean something very disquieting. An eerie anxiety rose to their faces.
Come now, everyone. Let's hurry and carry him. Quickly, quickly.
Ooh, my chair, that's a very interesting way to look at that. Kanon's wound was still unbelievably deep, and judging from Nanjo's pale face, it was a miracle that he was still conscious.
This is horrible. He appears to have been stabbed by something like a spear. If it hasn't reached the lungs, I might be able to do something. At any rate, we must stop the bleeding.
No matter how much Nanjo... Oh, wait. I think I heard a tip noise. Yeah. No, I didn't. No matter how much Nanjo tried to wipe off that gushing deep red blood, he couldn't do it, he couldn't do it, he couldn't do it, he couldn't wipe it all away. And each time the wound was aggravated, causing Kanan to cry out in anguish. Kanan-kun, 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 hang in there, hang in there.
Dr. Nanjo, here's a new towel. How horrible. What is his condition? In all honesty, this is so severe that I cannot believe he is alive. Maybe the location of the wound was fortunate, but the blood loss is too horrible. A blood transfusion is necessary, but that will be impossible until tomorrow. Rosa-sama. To us.
Don't talk, Kanan-kun. Your wound will open.
Rosa-sama came to Milady. And me. And... What did you say? Rosa-sama did? Oh, could that mean... Are you certain? Yes, I'm certain it was Rosa-sama. Come now, don't speak anymore. Kumasawa-san, please grab another first aid kit. Genji-san, is it possible Rosa-sama did such a thing? I do not know.
Disregarding Nanjo and Kumasawa, who were struggling hard and stained with blood as they tried to stop the bleeding, Genji and Goda faced each other. Because if what Kanan had said was the truth, Rosa was the culprit who killed Jessica. Curse you, Rosa. How could you do that to Milady? I'll kill you. I will kill you! Kanan screamed even more hatefully. His hate-filled voice made it seem like he was seeing Jessica being harmed right in front of his eyes. Certainly, Rosa-sama might have had a reason to kill Milady. If everyone in the Ushiramiya family were destroyed, the inheritance would all go to Rosa-sama. If so, Battler-sama and George-sama are in danger. Not only is Rosa-sama holding a gun, but right now, they are the only ones in the lounge. Genji-san, isn't this situation quite perilous? Genji's like, Shannon suddenly ran out into the corridor. Her expression was complex and tragic, as though she didn't know what to believe. Shannon ran. To where? The inside of the mansion had been scrupulously cleaned, so it probably wouldn't be easy to find. She might find it if she searched the rose garden, but they'd probably all been lost in the wind and rain. That's right. The boiler room isn't cleaned very often. If she went there, she might be able to find it. Shannon ran downstairs to find that in the underground boiler room. Did some medicine take effect at the brink of death, or was Kanan finally beyond feeling pain? For the time being, at least Kanan's painful gasping had subsided. Nanjo apparently didn't view this as a very good sign, and he didn't let his eyes off Kanan for a second. Kumasawa firmly gripped Kanan's hand and kept encouraging him, so that the willpower keeping him alive didn't fade away. Genji and Goda seemed uncertain how to respond to the truth Kanan had risked his life to deliver. Rosa-sama's gun surely has 4 or 5 shots loaded. That is no small number, but loading cartridges into a Winchester should require quite a lot of practice. She might be able to get 1 shot off, but if everyone attacks her at once, we should be able to take the gun from her before she shoots again. We may have a doctor on this island, but we have no access to medicine and no hospital.
If the location of the shot is bad, that person will die.
Barrow, thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it.
I understand that, but more importantly, if we don't move quickly, there's a chance another crime will occur. It seems to me Rosa-sama managed to cleverly chase us out. Maybe George-sama and Battler-sama are being killed right now. If our foe is so dangerous, wouldn't it be better if we didn't provoke them too much? But tomorrow is still a long way off. We can't even imagine what strategies she might use. Genji-san, we should take action first. If we can at least steal the gun under some pretext, it might work out. There are 4 or 5 cartridges, are there not? That means there aren't enough to kill all of us. As long as we don't carelessly provoke her, surely even Rosa-sama wouldn't be that rash. No, she said it. She said she'll massacre all of us. Kanan, who they thought was sleeping quietly, suddenly started talking brightly, almost as though he'd been awake this whole time and had suddenly opened his mouth. Kanan looked firm and steady, which relieved Nanjo a bit, but considering the depth of that wound, he couldn't wipe away a certain creepy feeling. He knew because he was a doctor. After losing so much blood, Kanan might easily have lost consciousness, and yet, somehow, he was still intensely aware of his surroundings. Was it youth? Or was it tenacity? Sometimes the power of human life surpassed common knowledge. While stopping the bleeding, Nanjo had groped around a bit inside the bleeding hole with tweezers, making sure there were no foreign objects inside the affected area. And the great depth of the wound had shocked him. It had certainly reached as far as his lungs. And yet... No, but the fact that he's still alive is wonderful. But... Langs, shut up. I'll kill you all, chat. But Kanan had spoke clearly. He'd hatefully stated that the one named Rosa made this wound, cursing and raging over and over and over. Hey, buddy. No, still no update. Still says he's dead. His eyes are red now. She wants to kill everyone by any means necessary before the typhoon passes, so that she can have the master's wealth all to herself. She told me that clearly. Damn, what a person. Genji-san, what should we do? Are there any weapons we can... I find it hard to believe. To think that Rosa-sama would say something like that. Genji-sama, it isn't a question of whether you believe or not. She told me. I heard it. Why won't you believe me? Don't get up. You'll harm your wound. Kanan sat up on the bed, speaking to Genji, who didn't seem to be willing to believe Kanan's story. She'll definitely kill all of us. She must have killed everyone in the parlor by now. If we don't kill her first, we'll definitely be killed first. Just like how I was killed first, everyone else will also be killed first. Kill or be killed. Kill or be killed, or kill or be killed. Kanan-san, does that really not hurt? Oh, this is nothing. What do you mean it's nothing? It really isn't a big deal. It doesn't even hurt anymore. It's really nothing. As Kanan said that, he began to untie the bandages that had been painstakingly wrapped. The gruesome hole in his chest was immediately exposed. Kanan-san, you mustn't do that. Lie down, quickly. I said it's fine. Hey, see? This is nothing, right? Kanan showed off his gaping wound, which was still slowly spitting out foamy blood. Everyone averted their eyes reflexively. Look, I told you it wasn't a serious wound at all. Stop! You mustn't play with the wound. Come on, see? It isn't a deep wound at all. Look. Look.
Conan held up 2 fingers, showed them to everyone, then slowly started to stick them into the gruesome wound right in the center of his chest. Plunging, slimy, squishy, wet. The fingers went in deep, all the way to their bases.
Kanan-san, stop it! Stop it!
Those fingers were sticking all the way into his chest, up to their bases, and then he slowly pulled them out in exactly the same way. The most batshit insane magic shit seems to happen when Battler isn't looking. True. True. The fingers he pulled out were stained a sticky, solid, deep red color, and there wasn't even a thread hanging. The fingers were covered up to their bases in deep red.
You... What in the world? See? It is not a serious wound at all, see?
You heard that, right, chat? At that moment, the door was slammed open and Shannon appeared. Even after she saw Kanan stained with fresh blood, her impregnable expression didn't falter.
Hey, Ne-san, where'd you go? I'm on the verge of death here, so where'd you go?
That's right. I went to the boiler room. There was something I had to find. More importantly, there's something I need to ask you. Are you really Kanon-kun?
Huh? What?
It was only natural. Everyone believed he was Kanon, so they couldn't understand the meaning of Shannon's question. When they looked, they noticed that Shannon was holding a handkerchief in her hand. It was filthy and looked like it had been used to wipe up some trash or dust. And while holding that, she approached Kanon, drawing closer to his feet.
What is that?
It's a handkerchief with a spider's web wiped onto it.
Why would you bring something like that?
If you're Kanon-kun, you should be fine. But if spiders are your natural enemy, I thought you might not like it.
Are you kidding? Why would I hate spiders?
Sorry, I'll try it.
Shannon-san.
When Shannon brought that handkerchief close to Kanon's thigh, something happened in an instant. It happened all at once. The human eye couldn't have followed it. Kanon jumped like a wild goat, fleeing from the thing Shannon was holding. Then, from his arm, some kind of afterglow flashed purple and drew a curve through space. That arc, which drew 3 beautiful purple curves, traced across the throats of Nanjo and Kumasawa, who had been tending to him. And in an instant, Nanjo and Kumasawa's throats opened like gaping mouths, and then the blood really started spewing out. The 3rd purple curve should have traced across Shannon's throat, but Shannon wasn't there, because Genji, who had been behind her, had wrapped his own arm around Shannon's neck and pulled her back. This all happened in an instant. In the instant it took Goda to think fast in an attempt to understand this scene, the frozen moment in time shattered. Blood was gushing from Nanjo and Kumasawa's torn open necks. Kanon jumped and kicked off a picture frame that had been hanging from the wall behind him, springing forward just like a cat and aiming for Shannon's throat again. So quick question, what color was Kanon's lightsaber again? It was red. It was not purple. That's what Beatrice's goat's lightsaber was. But Kanon's target had once again disappeared from in front of him. because Genji had pulled Shannon again, and the two of them had fallen to the ground in a defensive crouch.
Nice reflexes, you senile old furniture. Goda.
No, there was also a goat. There was also a goat in a butler costume with a fucking arm blade. Ooh. Yeah, that one wasn't Baphomet. It was goat-faced, but it was, I mean, you really only missed that one scene, but a lot happened in that scene. Even Goda was no fool. Even if he couldn't fully understand what was going on, at least he realized that if this Kannon wasn't seized, his own life would also be in peril. He sprung at Kannon with his huge body, pushing him up against the wall with all his weight and physical strength.
Oh! Let go, fat ass.
Another purple curve was drawn from the tips of the fingers on Kannon's right hand. And when he raised that hand like a sword, aiming for Goda's back, there was a loud thunk. Because Kannon's raised hand had been pinned to the wall. He couldn't tear his palm away from the wall. Sticking out from it was the knife Genji had thrown. Let's fucking go, Genji! Under normal circumstances, it would have been surprising to see someone as old as Genji handle a knife so skillfully. But in this abnormal space, no one paid it much mind. Genji-sama, take this! Indeed. Genji took the handkerchief with the spiderweb stuck to it from Shannon, and he approached Kannon, who was pinned to the wall by Goda's massive body and the knife.
Stop it! Keep that away from me! Stop it! Stop! Ugh.
So, an interesting turn of events, right? When Genji pushed the handkerchief up against Kannon's face, there was a sound just like setting meat on a red iron plate. Of course, the smell was the same too. As he was horribly burned, festering in filthy red and black and crying out in his death throes, Kannon's body burst open and scattered. It was almost as though a balloon filled with gold leaf had popped. The entire servant room was completely buried under a storm of gold leaf. No, a cloud of gold butterflies. Those butterflies began to softly fade, as though into water, or rather, into the empty air itself. And afterwards, all that was left was the three survivors sitting on their butts, stained with blood. However, not everyone was merely stained with blood. Some of them were lying on the ground, spurting out blood themselves.
Kumasawa, Dr. Nanjo.
Let me see if we got tip updates. Oh, no. Kannon's tips did not change at all during all that. Slits so sharp they look like they'd cut your finger if you touched them open wide, and large amounts of blood kept pouring out.
What was that just now? Goda, have you been injured?
Makes fair since this isn't canon true.
I am fine. But what did we just see? What happened? I know I pushed that thing against the wall with my own hand, but even I cannot understand what happened.
Goda looked at his own hand. The bright red blood left from his scuffle with Kannon definitely remained, and yet Kannon was nowhere to be seen. Yeah, Balor doesn't have to worry about explaining this. Like, explaining that it could have been possible without magic? Like, zombie Kannon showed up and killed them? What zombie Kannon? I don't see him. Where is he? Where's his body? It's not here. Oh, he turned into a bunch of gold butterflies? Cool, I didn't see that happen. And yet, Callan was nowhere to be seen, because he had disappeared. He had transformed into gold butterflies and scattered. Goda kept screaming alone without a clue about what was going on. Ah, there we go. Family Doctor Nanjo died in the servant room, his throat sliced open by a sharp blade or something similar. However, this alone isn't enough. Servant Kumasawa died in the servant room, her throat sliced open by a sharp blade or something similar. The finishing touches are yet to come. Shonen sobbed in front of Nanjo and Kumasawa's remains, as Genji watched over her, silent as always. Yeah, they never said how many people needed to be left. You know? They never said there needed to be people, like, left alive. It ends with none shall be left alive anyway. Yeah, let's look at... Hold on. Let's look at this dang old epitaph again. On the ninth twilight, the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive. So, you know... doesn't necessarily say that the rest of them will die at this point. It just says by the end, none shall be left alive. Okay. Yeah, we can do another chapter. This one looks like it's a bit shorter anyway. Yeah, there's still a lot of Twilights missing. Actually, you know what? Before we... Let me... So we got the second. We still need the third through the eighth Twilight, which is Praise My Noble Name, and then we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more deaths. We have enough people for it, but you know. Oh, this is a bop. Listen to this. It's a groovy little track. Oh, this is Dead Angle. It's a cool one. It's just watching Guilty Gear. It's just watching Battler have to do that. Have to solve the hardest game, like, Phoenix Wright case imaginable. Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa, what on earth are you talking about? Shannon, thank goodness you're safe. If something had happened to you, George-sama, George-kun, be quiet for a second. A murder occurred before your very eyes, right? Did you see the culprit, or not? That is, how should I explain? Genji-san. Even we cannot adequately explain what happened in front of us. It certainly, happened right before our eyes. It was right in front of my eyes. However, it was, what was it? Even I don't understand. What are you saying? You couldn't have met anyone except the witch Beatrice, whose location has been unknown since yesterday. Or Kanon-kun, who's gone missing? Was it a man or a woman? You should be able to tell me at least that much, right? Aunt Rosa, calm down a bit. Anyone would be confused if two people were taken out right in front of them. Koda-san, Genji-san, there's no need to rush. Tell us what happened, one thing at a time.
As to that, how should I say it?
Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san had been killed. We understood that much. And it seemed that it had occurred right in front of these people's eyes. But even so, they spoke awkwardly. They admitted that they had definitely seen the crime with their own eyes, but when asked to explain what they had seen, their mouths went suddenly shut. I could understand why Aunt Rosa was irritated and flaring up.
Shannon, did you see it? When Dr. Nanjo was attacked?
Yes.
Tell me, just what you understand. What in the world happened?
Someone came to the back door.
That's right. Someone came up to the back door. And, wondering who it was, I opened the door.
Someone at the back door? Who was it? Let them finish. And after that?
That person was stained with blood and had a large wound. We carried that person to the servant room and Dr. Nanjo immediately began first aid. It was a very deep wound.
Like I said, who are you talking about?
I don't know. Certainly, in the beginning, I thought that was the case. No, I still think that. But what in the world was that? I don't know. I don't know.
In a manner that didn't match his large body, Goda held his head and scratched at it. I didn't have a clue if he was confused because he couldn't remember, or because he'd seen something terrifying and couldn't accept it. And Shannon looked the same way. If she let her guard down, what she'd seen just a short while ago would quickly melt away like a daydream, and she wouldn't be able to remember anything. That's what she looked like. Only Genji looked composed as usual, so the questions were naturally directed at him. However, even Genji took quite some time before he spoke, and he had to gather his thoughts. Genji-san, you saw it, right? Who came in through the back door?
At first, we believed that person was Kano.
You see? He was alive after all. My theory was correct.
By at first, you mean that your impression changed later, right? Yes. I cannot explain with words what happened after that. He killed Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa, then disappeared. At that time, he was definitely not canon. Yes, that's right. It's just as Genji-san says. You really couldn't explain it with words. Do you have the same opinion?
Yes, I can only say the same thing. If we give their claims the benefit of the doubt, it means that Aunt Rosa's first conclusion was correct. Kanon had appeared near the back door to the kitchen with a serious injury. Then he had been taken to the servant room and cared for. And after that, something terrifying had happened. So were these people so convinced that Kanon-kun couldn't possibly have done such a thing, that they'd started to suspect whether it had been Kanon-kun at all? In other words, that means Kanon-kun did appear. No matter how confused they are, no matter how much they muddle their words, that's what it means in the end. So, does that mean that, after all, Kanon-kun used some trick to escape that room even though it was locked? No, that doesn't matter anymore. The real problem is that Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san were killed. Aunt Rosa has claimed that Kanon-kun was behind this from the very beginning. No matter how confused these people are, no matter how much they try to deny it, they're halfway confirming that she was right. But even so, for some reason, I felt like their awkwardness couldn't be explained by confusion alone. What did they see? Like they said, did they really see something that couldn't be explained with words? Aunt Rosa, who decided that further talk wouldn't get us anywhere, concluded her questioning and said she wanted to check the two bodies. That was something I'd been wanting to do too. The witnesses had been unable to figure anything out, but they'd been shaken. If those of us who hadn't been at the scene calmly looked at the corpses, we might find something. But it was a little surprising to learn that Aunt Rosa was also concerned about the bodies. Even at this point, I still wanted to use any clues I could to expose the culprit and the truth myself. But it should have been different in Aunt Rosa's case. Hadn't Aunt Rosa prioritized staying safe over finding the culprit? I couldn't really see why she would go to all the trouble of leaving our barricade in the parlor just because she wanted to check the bodies. We will all go to the servant room together. If we all move together, it'll be safe. Maria, stop playing with scribbles. Ugh, not scribbles. I'm solving Beatrice's puzzle. Ugh. Beatrice's puzzle? What's that? Show me too.
Aunt Rosa, are you, bringing Maria-chan too?
Zeros, that's an interesting thought. It seemed that George Aniki was against the idea of bringing Maria to the bloody crime scene. But considering that Maria would be all alone if left here, it'd surely be much safer to take Maria with us. In the end, it was just Aniki's irresponsible humanism. We decided that all of us, including Maria, would go to the servant room. Have we seen the golden butterflies with Battler in the room? I was prepared to answer that, but I think it's better if Zeros answers it, yeah. I will say that Zeros is correct. The bed in the servant room was stained with bright red blood. No, not just the bed. The whole room was covered with a gruesome paint from countless bloodstains. That dreadful scene alone was enough to give us an idea of the repulsive sight they'd been trying to describe. Ugh. I want to look too.
Maria-chan, wait here with me.
George Aniki was standing by the entrance, covering Maria's eyes with his back to the room. He probably didn't want to dirty an innocent girl's retinas with the repulsive blood in this room. That was surely the correct decision. I was acting tough right now, so I didn't mind, but for the rest of my life, whenever I see red paint scattered around, I'll probably remember this room and start to vomit. My retinas have already had this room burned into them. In other words, it's already too late for me.
Where did they...
Right after they entered the servant room, Goda-san and Shannon-chan trembled. We shook, wondering what horrible new situation had arisen to make them tremble again. What happened? Where is it? Aunt Rosa also shuddered, raised her gun high, and searched for whatever it was that had made them shudder. But she couldn't find it. It was only natural. They were trembling because they couldn't find it.
Hey, what in the world's going on? The two bodies aren't here.
What does this mean?
That can't be. Those two were definitely here.
Wait. What the hell? Are you saying the corpses just walked off somewhere? That couldn't happen, right? I mean, wasn't the servant room locked? Didn't you unlock the door when you came in just now, Goda-san? So what does that mean? Isn't this the same as Jessica's room? Someone's disappeared from inside a closed room again? That's ridiculous.
I don't have a clue what happened either. When we left this room, we definitely locked it. I don't have a clue what's going on anymore.
There was a timid, pitiful smile on Goda-san's face that he definitely wouldn't have let show normally. Shannon was the same. Two corpses disappeared. And furthermore, they disappeared while the door was locked. Even if Kanan-kun was the culprit, he shouldn't have a master key anymore. That's wrong. Kanan-kun isn't the culprit.
Shannon. I believe Shannon. Kanan-kun is not the culprit. This must be the doing of someone who looks a lot like him.
No. Kanan-kun could have gotten a master key. After all, his master key was found in the pocket of Jessica-chan's corpse. And who took that key?
That's right. It was Dr. Nanjo.
That's right. Back then, it definitely was Dr. Nanjo who searched through Jessica's clothes and found the master key. So if someone had the opportunity to search Dr. Nanjo's corpse, it would have been easy for them to take the master key back. Aunt Rosa searched under the bed and in the locker. By now, I also understood what that meant. If you assume that there are two culprits, that can be easily explained. The first person was Kanan-kun, or maybe an imposter who looked like him. Serious, I will respond to that because it's so... That's such a good thought. Butterflies have only appeared to people who believe in Bito, right? Not quite, but you're close. He finished off Dr. Nanjo and ran off somewhere. The second person was probably the 19th person, Beatrice, whose location was unknown. That person hid under the bed in the servant room beforehand, and then, while Dr. Nanjo's body was enshrined there, they waited for Genji-san and the rest to leave. Then later, they crawled out, took the master key back from Dr. Nanjo's pocket, and carried the two corpses away for some reason. If they then locked the door with the master key, you'd end up with this closed room. Were they there when the kids found her at the end of book 1? Ooh, you might be right. That might have been the one time Battler saw golden butterflies. Battler might have seen them at the end of book 1. At the very, very end. You constructed that one pretty fast, basing it off your reasoning from Jessica's room. With that method, you could create a closed room even without magic. Should I give you passing marks? However, interestingly enough, there's one thing you mustn't forget. If the culprit took back the master key, as you suggest, they must have known that Nanjo took the master key from Jessica's body. You don't have to tell me that. You're probably trying to say it's information only the people in that place at that time could know. This third closed room was crushed so fast you're stuck trying to make hurtful remarks like that. There's no art in repeating the same contest over and over. I may have managed to bluff, but that move of the witches hurt bad. I can tell that I'm cracking under the thing I want to deny him the most. This person's trying to close in on me from two directions. On the one hand, there's the frontal attack, where she tries to force me to believe that there's a witch using closed room tricks that only a witch could do. And on the other hand, there's the rear attack, where she tries to lure me into wanting a witch to exist, by strengthening my suspicion of those close to me. In the first closed room, the chapel, she used the frontal attack, but it didn't work on me. So, by the second closed room, and now on the third closed room, she's definitely changed the direction of her attack. However, the fact that she is changing the direction of her attack proves that my resistance is having some effect. And she must have given up on the frontal attack because she clearly can't win with it. I tried to settle my unease by thinking these things, but apparently the witch had seen through me long ago. I will not abandon my frontal attack. A rear attack only has meaning because it advances at the same time as the front. If I were to degenerate into only using the rear attack, it would merely result in a foolish plan where my means have become my goal. Really? Well then, won't you repeat someone was hiding in the servant room using that red you're so proud of? There is no need. The premise of your theory is about to be destroyed. Oh, really? You refuse? So someone really is hiding. Rosa will destroy your premise right now. Come, let's listen in.
Please believe us, Rosa-sama. The two corpses were definitely lying here. The bright red blood on the floor is theirs.
Aunt Rosa began to search through various objects around the room, her back to Goda-san as he cried out in supplication. Eventually, she found something, and for a while stopped moving.
Rosa-sama, we definitely aren't lying. The two corpses were definitely here.
Be quiet. The person who hid the corpses has confessed that they took them to another place. With this. Rosa showed them a single sheet of paper over her shoulder.
What on earth is that? Could it be a letter in a sealed envelope, just like in the chapel?
Yes, that's right. It was set here out in the open. I'll read it. Members of the Ushiramiya family and its household, have you now reached the climax of the riddle in the Gold's epitaph? There is only one way you all can stop me, by solving the epitaph's riddle. There are no other options left to you that will result in the suspension of my ceremony. I humbly ask that you take care not to misunderstand your current situation. Searching for me will prove useless. Attempting to escape will prove useless. Trying to deny me will prove useless. Beatrice the Golden. P.S. I borrowed those two corpses for my ceremony. They will be returned to you in due time, so I crave your indulgence. Also, these keys belong to you, so I return them to you now. As Rosa read that aloud, the contents of the envelope lay exposed on the palm of her hand. There were two master keys. The master key that Nanjo had found in Jessica's pocket, which had originally been Kanon's, and Kumasawa's master key.
What the hell? So what does this mean? Damn you, again? You're saying I can only suspect the servants with keys again?
I won't say it in red, okay? I won't deny the possibility that after they locked the door and left, someone was hiding in this room, okay? If they hid under the bed, it still would have been possible for them to carry the corpses somewhere. But they wouldn't have been able to lock the door. The master key they went to all that trouble to get was left right here. That's right, I'd forgotten. What about the keys specifically for this room? The servant room keys? Indeed. Those are kept in the key box in the center of the servant room. There are several servant room keys, but all of those are inside the key box. Which means the situation is exactly the same as Jessica's room. It's not like the servants would walk around with an unnecessary key when they have those convenient master keys. I can accept that they're all kept in the key box. And the other condition remains unchanged as well. Entry and exit are impossible except for the single door and the single window. Therefore, hidden doors and irregular methods of entry cannot exist. Rejoice, great detectives. And those were both locked. The door and the window do not permit any kind of entry or exit when they are locked. Yep, the door was locked in red. Yeah, and that is super directed at the audience when she says shit like that. It's great. So it wouldn't work to remove the door and make a crack to slide it in through or anything like that while the lock is still set. And obviously, it is impossible to unlock the door without a servant room key or the master key. It's a pain having to read all these aloud every time. Sooner or later, I should think of a word to put all this together and abbreviate it. But you can't repeat that someone was hiding in this room. However, that alone won't break open the door of a closed room. Damn it. Damn it. It's useless. It's useless. It's all useless. What happened to that spinning the chessboard around thing that you're so proud of? Please, announce your boastful strange theory. Spin the chessboard around. What would I do if I were the culprit? Oh, thank you, Sarge. I carry the corpses off somewhere. I leave a letter. I lock the door from the inside. Then I just have to escape this room by some means. Damn it, is that even possible? I was told and read that you can't get outside except through the door or the window. At that moment, I got it. That's right. The culprit carried away the corpses, left the letter, and since they didn't use a hidden door, they weren't able to escape. That's it. This isn't a question, it's an answer. Beato, before I ask you to repeat anything, I want to check the definition of hidden doors that you're using. What have you thought of? Very well, I'll explain. A hidden door refers to an entrance or exit that cannot be recognized as such by those who don't know of it beforehand, of course. Even children know that. So, in other words, if you can't get outside the room with it, it isn't a hidden door? Oh, so that's your game. I kept thinking that there needed to be some way for the culprit to escape from the closed room. That's wrong. The culprit couldn't escape, so they decided to hide until we all left. During the second closed room, I tried applying this theory to Kanon-kun, but after hearing Kanon-kun was killed and read, I gave it up. After that, I proposed a third person might have been in the room before escaping through a hidden door. And then, for the first time, I was faced with the red claim that no hidden doors exist. Now move from there to what I've just learned. The term hidden door refers to things that make it possible to enter or leave a room. In other words, that category doesn't cover things that don't actually lead in or out of the room, even if these things could never be recognized by people who don't know about them beforehand. So if we had something like a hidden shelf or a secret closet, for example, that wouldn't count as a hidden door. That means the third person from Jessica's room is hiding here, waiting for us to leave. How pathetic. It was all just a bit of wordplay. Looks like that technique should be enough to handle even this third closed room. If there's a hidden shelf under the bed or anything like that, that'd be enough. The culprit's hiding somewhere, waiting for us to leave. The culprit is also trapped in this closed room even now, which means, at this very moment, the culprit is still hiding in the servant room, holding their breath. And that means, what the hell? Even though we've been tortured by closed rooms 3 times, at this very moment we've actually gotten the culprit in checkmate. I'm finally starting to see it. Eat this, Beato. Repeat it. There is no one in this room other than us. By us, I mean me, George Aniki, Maria, Aunt Rosa, Genji-san, Goda-san, and Shannon-chan. Got it? What do you think? You can't say it, right? I'll bet that hit you where it hurts. If you refuse, then say it, damn it. Here comes the next one. Repeat it. I don't know how they're hiding in this room, but if they are, then this solves the second closed room, Jessica's room, at the same time. I finally caught her by the tail. With this, I can explain everything. Witches don't exist, and I don't have to suspect anyone. Alright. Starting now, I'll spin it all around. Now I'll have her repeat that no one exists in this room except your group. Your group refers to Battler, Maria, George, Rosa, Genji, Goda, and Shannon. Let's go back to Jessica's room. When Jessica's corpse was discovered, only Battler, George, Maria, Rosa, Genji, Goda, Shannon, Kumasawa, and Nanjo were in Jessica's room. His theme is not playing. In fact, Witch in Gold is playing. What are you standing up for? Whoops, the corpse of Jessica is also included. Therefore, both in the case involving Jessica's room and the one involving this servant room, no humans exist that you were not aware of. No one is hiding. And I'll say more. No method exists by which the door can be locked from the outside without a key. Regarding the window, no method exists by which it could somehow be locked from the outside. And let me also say this. You are incompetent. So people who... Oh, I've learned of the incompetent meme. Yeah. This moment is fucking great. She says you're incompetent in red, and then she laughs in red. Laughs at you in the red truth. Dumbass. So, it's really a closed room, isn't it? And just when I'd finally managed to think of a way out. If you were hiding, that would fix everything. Just when I thought I'd broken through to your trick. Damn it. Battler just starts crying. I love Battler. This is Mystery Cells seething over fantasy chads. It really is. I love you, Battler. I'm sorry, buddy. Look, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, buddy. My son. It's useless, it's useless, it's useless, it's all useless. For a second I thought I had it. It was all useless. Damn it. I was so sure I'd finally seen through her, that I'd seen how she distracted me with her clever red wordplay and fooled me. Just when I thought I found a light in the darkness. Disappeared. Just disappeared. Swallowed up by a blood-red sea. Red. 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 No one is hiding. And there's no hidden door, and no way to get past the door or the window while they're locked. Have you just proven that it's all impossible? Has the devil's proof been fulfilled? With a frontal attack? Impossible. It's impossible. What's wrong, Ushiramiya Battler? Weren't you so confident in your ability to deny witches? Why are you groveling and wringing out bitter tears in a place like that? Yes, what a truly splendid tactic. Truly splendid how you're trying to make me fall over and drown in a sea of tears from my own laughter. This is what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to make me laugh and laugh and laugh myself to death, right? Ushiromiya Batora. I had to hit next like 12 times to get through that Ushiromiya Battler. Oh my god, loop that shit, let's go. Bump that shit. What are you calling magic? I'll definitely prove that witches don't exist. I definitely won't believe in you. You used the power of magic and bullied and killed everyone for fun? I definitely won't accept that. Hey, Battler. Sorry for bullying you so much. I'll spin the chessboard around from my side. I'll stand in your place and show you the best possible move you could make. Wanna hear? Don't screw with me. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear. Consider Jessica's room. You were off to a good start, you know that? All that about hiding and waiting for everyone else to leave. That truly was well spotted. But why did you only think of Kanon and me, the 19th person? I see, so the hide part of hiding and waiting got in the way, which prevented you from getting any further. Come on, you see what I'm getting at, don't you? It's Jessica. Jessica! If Jessica were the culprit, a farce like this could be easily constructed. She killed Kanon-kun and carried him off somewhere. Then she played dead and let us walk by. But that's ridiculous. Dr. Nanjo definitely confirmed that she was dead. So was Dr. Nanjo an accomplice too? That's wrong. I also confirmed that Jessica was dead. Of course, I'd never examined a corpse before, but she was definitely dead. I think she was dead. No, that's probably, surely, definitely what I thought, but certainly, wait. She was dead. That's a banger sentence. She was dead. Jessica was in on it. And Nanjo, who examined her corpse, was in on it too. And that makes the third closed room a farce, doesn't it? Yeah, then it's simple. Dr. Nanjo was in on it, so in other words, he's on the culprit's side, which means he was never dead in the first place? We thought his body disappeared when he was killed, but what if he was never in the servant room to begin with? So, if Kumasawa Bachan disappeared with him, doesn't that mean she's in on it too? That's not all. That's not all. The servants who all agreed to keep to that story, Genji-san and Goda-san and even Shannon-chan, were also in on it. Then, the one who stole the key from Maria's handbag was Jessica. No, it could have even been George Hanaki. After all, if Shannon-chan is on the culprit's side, that automatically makes George Hanaki on the culprit's side. Wait a second, just wait a second, they're all wolves. They're all wolves. Not only am I drowning in an ocean of bright red blood, there are packs of wolves clamoring on the banks whose blazing eyes tell me they'll eat me if I crawl out. Which way should I die? Should I deny everything and drown in a bright red sea? Or should I learn the truth and have my whole body chewed to bits by the wolves? It's either one hell or the other. I can't choose. Ugh. That's why I'm here. Come, Ushiramiya Battler, and kneel. Swear your eternal loyalty and lick my shoes. If you accept me, all of the riddles will be resolved. With my power, any kind of closed room can be created or destroyed. Battler, don't you want to abandon yourself to the joy of surrendering to one with power? I'll make you my favorite furniture. I'll love you so much and make you my toy until you turn to ashes. She does say that. She does say that she'll love him and make him a toy until he turns to ashes. It's pretty good. Thanks, Beato. Thanks for all that. Hey, alright. Now, it's clear. There's no longer any reason to doubt.
Huh? What are you saying?
You kept saying those two were dead, but they aren't here. And now we have this letter from Beatrice, where she's been kind enough to confess that she carried the corpses off. It's as simple as that. I've had enough of this farce. As Aunt Rosa yelled this, she looked at all of us with a fierce expression.
What do you mean by farce?
I said it in Jessica-chan's room. You can't trust anybody but yourself and those whose corpses have been found. And since we can't find the corpses of those two people, we must not accept that they've been killed.
Please wait, Aunt Rosa. What did you mean by that?
Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san aren't dead, they're alive. We're supposed to believe that they've been killed, but they're definitely hiding somewhere in this mansion. So that they can attack us.
How could you know that? Are you saying that Goda-san and the rest are lying? Rosa-sama, Goda, No, all of the Ushiramiya family servants. We all swear that nothing of the sort happened.
You all say that those two were killed, but since there are no corpses, we mustn't believe you. There's a chance that you worked out a story beforehand, that you're lying. There's a good way to prove your innocence, isn't there? Find Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san's bodies. If you can find them, then maybe I'll start listening to your story. But until you do, you cannot deny that you are all wolves. You! And you! I'll bet you were all bought by that witch, that your eyes were blinded by gold. Do you really want money that much? That's right, isn't it? You want to live the easy way for as long as you live? What value could a life like that possibly have? Rosa-sama, we couldn't have. Be silent. And Shauna, don't get any closer. To think you'd repay a 10-year-long debt of gratitude with betrayal. I'll pull the trigger without mercy. How could you? It's too cruel. Aunt Rosa, that's horrible. A murder occurred in this room, and then the culprit carried the corpses away. All they're doing is honestly reporting what they saw. Shannon had finally broken down in tears. She had sacrificed 10 years to the Ushiramiya family. She had sacrificed 10 of the most brilliant years of her life. She believed that she'd built up a friendly relationship with Rosa, and this was what she got in return. You can kill a person without using a knife. I didn't have to be George Aniki to realize that Shannon-chan had been stabbed deep in the heart, that she was shedding tears like blood.
Shannon-san, stay back. Rosa-sama, it is true that I, Goda, have not served for many years, and I understand that I have not earned your trust. However, could you not believe in Shannon-san at least? She has sacrificed a full 10 years in service to the Ushiramiya family.
Wow. This is another line that I forgot that I'm like getting a little emotional about.
I'm not telling you to believe me. At the very least, can't you believe in Shannon-san? But even I don't understand anymore. I don't understand. We can't search for an answer without suspecting them. Yeah, bit by bit, I'm starting to understand. It's because we've been searching for an answer. That's why everything keeps going wrong.
I'm so sorry. I gotta... Good message, Sanji.
We don't need an answer. These are all strange murders, committed with bizarre magic by the 19th person, the witch Beatrice, in accordance with some creepy ceremony. Isn't that enough? I don't want to suspect anyone anymore. Shannon-chan and Goda-san were protesting their innocence, half crying. Genji-san quietly put a stop to that. Enough. What Rosa-sama says is quite sensible. Until we find the corpses, we cannot prove Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa's innocence. That's right. By Rosa-san's arguments, if their corpses can be found, then the innocent is that.
By Rosa-sama's... By that. I'm gonna take the whole thing.
That's right. By Rosa-san's argument, if their corpses can be found, then the innocence of those people alone can be proven. But that only counted for the corpses. Even if the survivors searched the mansion and found the corpses, in the end their own innocence would never be proven. They kidnapped Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san, killed them in another place, and locked them in the closed room with their own master keys. Thank you, Sarge. Unless the closed room could be broken by a method other than that one, it would be impossible to prove their innocence. But that couldn't be done. They only have one chance to prove their innocence. That can only happen if they meet with the culprit, become corpses, and are then reunited with Aunt Rosa.
It's rough, huh? Isn't that strange? They're innocent if they die, but guilty as long as they're alive, just like a witch trial. Oh, right. The enemy's a witch. So everything's cool, is that it? Battler is like losing it. Battler is like losing it.
Rosa-sama, we are furniture in service to the Ushiramiya family. Whether you trust us or not is no business of ours. No matter what assessment you give us, we will merely continue to serve until our final hour.
You really are a model servant. I deeply understand why Father trusts you. It really is heartrending that I must suspect even you. Genji-san stuck his hand into his pocket and pulled out a master key. Then he set it on a nearby table.
I believe I was given this as a sign of the trust placed in me. If that trust has been lost, I think it only natural that I return it.
Oh, we getting sad music for this? That's a good decision. Those master keys are the main reason you've been suspected several times today. It may seem elementary that letting go of these might actually clear away that suspicion, but I don't think it's a bad thing.
You too.
Genji-san looked at Goda-san and Sharon-chan. The two of them nodded and set their own master keys on the table. Aunt Rosa laid the two master keys that had come out of the envelope on top. With that, all 5 master keys were gathered in this place. In other words, this was proof that all of the servants' service up until today had been negated, with even the final honor they should have been permitted stripped from them.
Maria, give me that handbag.
Ugh, give it back. Aunt Rosa snatched Maria's handbag, tossed the master keys in there, and held up one of them for all to see. She was showing us that she now had all the master keys. No, there's 5. There's 5.
Are you satisfied now, Aunt Rosa? Now you have all the master keys. Doesn't that satisfy you?
Yes, I'm satisfied. Even if I can't trust anyone else, I can at least trust myself. I've been able to get the gun and all the master keys for myself. Now I don't have to suspect anyone. You are all happy too, I take it? Now you don't have to be suspected anymore. Oh, that was quite interesting. That even startled me. At that time, Maria, who alone seemed to be watching this as though it were a show, sneered at her mother. Aunt Rosa reacted nervously to that laugh and turned around. Keys don't have anything to do with this. Beatrice can open doors with magic. She doesn't need keys. It doesn't matter who has or doesn't have something like that. Don't I always tell you to stop laughing like that?
What is it, Battler-kun?
I had just cut in between the two of them.
No, that's not it. I was on my knees
and hugging Maria's head. I was crying.
Just stop it already, Aunt Rosa. Maria was right. What are you talking about?
Maria,
I'm sorry for doubting. I'm sorry for not believing.
Battler.
It was all the witch's doing. The witch's doing. All that stuff about tricks and closed rooms didn't matter. It's just that the witch Beatrice actually exists. And she's really a witch. And because I didn't believe, it's been so painful and so sad.
You believe in Beatrice?
Yes, I believe. Beatrice exists, and she's a witch who uses strange magic.
Battler.
Maria let go of my hand, and then she was the one holding my head.
That's enough, Battler. Beatrice existed. You had so much trouble believing, so you couldn't see her. Witches exist. They exist. And will come soon. You believed in Beato, so you'll surely be invited to the Golden Land. Very soon now. It will happen very soon. So there's nothing to be afraid of anymore. There's no need to be afraid, okay? Stay with me. Hands joined. Okay? Let's think about the riddle of the epitaph together. Let's think about Beato's puzzle. Beato has been saying it from the beginning. She hasn't said anything other than let's play and solve this puzzle.
Right. She did. Searching for the culprit was just a waste of time. If only we had just believed in the witch.
After gently brushing my cheek as my tears kept dripping down, Maria kissed my forehead as soft as a feather. For just that instant, Maria's smile, which had once seemed creepy to me, looked like that of an angel.
We have returned the master keys, but our loyalty to the Ushiramiya family will not change. From now on, we will not enter the parlor without permission. Rosa-sama, please lock the parlor from the inside.
You truly are an admirable person. When the typhoon passes, if the cries of the Umineko return to this island again, I wonder if we'll be able to trust each other once more.
If you were to grant us your trust once again, there could be no greater pleasure.
I see. We'll definitely be able to understand each other when the Umineko cry.
It would probably be best if we left this room as it is until the police come. Rosa-sama, if you would please lock it. We will return to the kitchen. If you need anything, please command us at any time.
Like how Proxy autocorrected seagulls. Yeah, I'm not gonna say when the seagulls cry.
Thank you.
If you are a wolf, how shamelessly you speak. And if you are a sheep, then I'm sorry for throwing you into the cage of wolves.
Furniture entrusts its fate to the family. If I could regain your trust by giving up this life of mine, I would consider it a great honor.
I hope you all manage to return safe until the typhoon passes, if such a thing is possible. This is all a rhapsody of blowing winds and pouring rain performed by the typhoon. When the performance ends and the curtain closes, we will surely be able to grasp hands together again. When the Umineko cry. Aunt Rosa nodded in response. Genji-san turned it on his heels. He left the servant room. Goda-san's face was still streaked with tears, but maybe he'd managed to sort out his feelings as he listened to Genji-san's words. His face had been truly shameful, but it had returned to the face of the Goda-san we knew well.
I will also be waiting in the kitchen. If you need anything, please command me at any time. If you wish for some warm food, I, Goda, will have the very best prepared for you.
Thank you. I can't wait for your breakfast tomorrow. And the boat will probably come midday tomorrow. Thanks for everything up until now. Your cooking was my only pleasure on Rockinjima.
Certainly. I, Goda, will prepare a supreme breakfast. Please look forward to tomorrow morning.
Thank you. And Shannon-chan, tomorrow morning, let's make up and have some delicious coffee.
George-kun? I'm going with them.
It's all right, George-sama. Please return to the parlor. There are no more master keys, so if you're with Rosa-sama in the parlor, you won't be threatened by anyone.
You're right.
That's how things have sorted themselves out, isn't it? Objectively speaking, I'd say you'll all be safest staying with me in the parlor. But I won't force you to stay with us. George-kun, you may stay in any place you feel is safe. You're already an adult. It's up to you where and with whom you spend the time until tomorrow morning.
Yes, I will decide with whom I'll spend this night. Aniki. Battler-kun, stay with Aunt Rosa in the parlor. I'm sure you'll be safest there. Everywhere outside the parlor is dangerous in comparison, so I can't leave her in a place like that alone. It's not like I suspect Shannon-chan and the other servants, or anyone at all. I don't want to suspect anyone. The inheritance? The gold? That's all nothing. There's no way people are killing each other over things like that. Yes. I know better than anyone how pure your heart is, Battler-kun. No one will blame you. No one.
Aniki. It's alright. I'll protect you, Battler. If you're with me, even Beatrice won't be able to lay a hand on you. I may be small, but I'm still a witch.
Yes. Maria-chan. I'm leaving Battler in your care. Alright, Shannon. Let's go.
Yes. Rosa-sama, if you would excuse me. If you have an order, please call me at any time. I'm sorry for saying something so cruel just now. I don't expect you to forgive me until tomorrow morning. But when tomorrow morning comes, let me apologize again. Yes. Thank you very much. George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan left the servant room together. Now, only Maria, Aunt Rosa, and I were left in this disgusting, blood-stained room. Until Genji-san disappeared, until Goda-san disappeared, until George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan disappeared, we stood there, shocked. After their presence and their footsteps had completely disappeared, Aunt Rosa giggled as though she just remembered something pleasant. You can't trust them for a moment. That damned furniture. That one sentence made me choke. Why are you saying something like that? There are 5 master keys in all? Who would believe that? It's obvious that some duplicate keys exist. As if we could trust them just because they pulled keys out of their pockets. You don't mean that, right? By setting down those keys, they weren't just letting go of them. You've made all their hard work count for nothing. Disgraced it, trampled it. And in the end, you made them give up their keys. What's with that parting line? They've shown that they're willing to go this far, and you still can't trust them? Too much. That's just too much. It's a devil's proof. There are 5 master keys in all. It's impossible to prove something like that. You can show that there are 5 master keys by placing them here, but you can't prove that no more than 5 exist. Only a demon or a witch could prove something like that, right? I'm sorry, what are we bumping right now? Holy shit. What is this song? Good lord? Oh, this is Prison Strip. Yeah, no, it's Strip. I endorse Prison Strip. The full name of the song is Prison Strip. But you can't prove that no more than 5 exist. Only a demon or a witch could prove something like that, right? Ugh. Stop it already, stop it already! Please, Beatrice, show yourself right now and tell Aunt Rosa in red that there are only 5 master keys. Please, I'm begging you, this can only be proved by devils, by a witch like you. Please, Beato, show yourself here and tell Rosa that those are all the master keys, that there is no need to suspect anyone anymore. There are only 5 master keys. There are only 5 master keys. How's that? No matter how often I say it, it won't reach Rosa's ears. After all, it seems there's still someone who denies that I exist, right? Ushiramiya Battler? I accept it. I accept it. You exist. You exist. You definitely exist. So I'm begging you, stop this already. Stop it already. Stop it already. Words alone are not enough. Show it with your actions. Swear from your heart that you will become my furniture. Can you do it? Take off your clothes, be naked, then put your hands on the ground and crawl. Clothing is proof of one's humanity. From now on, you will become furniture, so it's only natural that you will lose that right. Then kneel. Make your tongue crawl on my shoes. Can you do it? You can do it, right? When you do, I'll appear and say it in red. I'll tell Rosa that there are only 5 master keys. Oh, but of course you'll never abandon that lordly pride of yours. But you've done well. You've done more than enough, and you're starting to get that tingly feeling, aren't you? For just an instant, you thought that maybe licking my shoes wouldn't be so bad, didn't you? And you immediately denied that and felt ashamed, right? Just looking at your expression feels just heavenly. That face of yours is so pathetic. So go look in the mirror. You'll find how low you are, naked and licking my shoes, right? Can you see it? Ushiramiya Battler?